Welcome to The Explainer. If you've been anywhere near a screen recently, you have absolutely heard of the massive success of Netflix's latest hit, The Boroughs. But today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to look at a genuinely fascinating analysis by systems theorist Levent Bulut. He treats storytelling not just as an art form, but as a measurable science. Okay, let's dive right into this.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by exploring the anomaly of aging heroes. Then we'll dive straight into the narrative gravity formula, look at how to build narrative mass while crushing entropy, uncover this thing called the memory evolution layer, and finally, we'll reveal the true source of a story's gravity.
Section 1. The Anomaly of Aging Heroes.
Let's kick things off with the central mystery here. Produced by the Duffer Brothers, The Boroughs is set in a sun-drenched retirement community in New Mexico. It features an ensemble cast discovering that their supposed golden years are actually, well, incredibly dangerous. But how on earth did a show about retirees in the desert become an instant global phenomenon? I mean, on its opening day alone, the show racked up a staggering 95% critics score and shot straight to the very top of search trends worldwide. And this massive success happened despite the show literally defying every single golden rule of modern television.
And this brilliantly illustrates the crazy contrast we're looking at. The industry standard usually dictates young, hot heroes, breakneck pacing, and a heavy reliance on 1980s nostalgia. But The Boroughs? It gives us the exact opposite. We're talking seasoned legends like Alfred Molina, Gina Davis, and Alfred Woodard, most of whom are in their 70s. Add in a retirement community setting and deep reflections on mortality, and they basically threw the standard TV playbook right out the window. Yet somehow it gripped viewers immediately. So why?
That brings us to Section 2. The narrative gravity formula. To really understand this, we have to stop asking subjective questions like, was the acting good or was the cinematography nice? Instead, we need to pivot to system theorist Levent Bulut's objective projection doctrine. Now, this framework is wild. It treats a narrative's effect on you, the viewer, not as some subjective feeling of just liking something, but as a measurable, structural projection. Bulut basically argues that we can look at storytelling as an objective mechanism. There's actual science behind why a story leaves a permanent imprint on your brain.
Central to this whole doctrine is this concept of narrative gravity, or NG. Think about physical gravity for a second. The denser an object's mass is, the stronger its gravitational pull, right? Well, narrative gravity works the exact same way, but for your mind. It's a story's capacity to literally bend a viewer's attention and memory toward itself. Basically, the denser the narrative mass of a show is, the stronger it pulls you in and absolutely refuses to let you go.
Section 3. Building massive narrative weight.
Let's look at the core equation here. Narrative gravity equals narrative mass divided by narrative entropy squared. The numerator is narrative mass, so the more mass you have, the higher the gravitational pull. Makes total sense. But the denominator is narrative entropy, which represents the dispersion or the messiness of the story. And because it's squared in the formula, high entropy will penalize the story quadratically, meaning it kills its gravity incredibly fast. To succeed, a show has to maximize mass and absolutely crush its entropy. So, let's start with the top half, narrative mass. How does The Boroughs maximize this? Well, it does it exactly by using those aging heroes. Replacing young characters with older ones fundamentally changes the stakes. First up, we have mortality. You know, young characters fear death as this abstract, distant concept. But for aging characters, time is objectively finite. Every single scene carries the heavy, undeniable reality of lived experience. Second is legacy. A teen hero is basically a blank slate, right? But an aging hero carries the immense weight of a lifetime. They were doctors, teachers, workers. Their past is a heavy burden they carry right into the narrative. And third, witness. A long life provides a natural, accumulated depth of memory. All of this creates a semantic density, a true narrative mass, that a young ensemble just simply cannot achieve.
Moving right along to Section 4. Crushing narrative entropy.
Now let's look at the bottom half of that equation. Having massive narrative weight really means nothing if the story is constantly leaking that energy. To understand entropy in TV, let's just look at the traditional weekly release schedule. Week 1, an episode drops and boom, you're hooked. But then, time passes. By week 2, your attention disperses to your real life. By week 3, you experience what's called accumulated forgetting. You kind of lose track of the subplots. And by week 4, the rhythm is completely broken. This waiting gap, that is pure narrative entropy. The story scatters, and because entropy is squared in Bulut's formula, that gravitational pull collapses rapidly.
But the Boroughs bypasses this entirely using a massive structural advantage. First, they released all 8 episodes simultaneously. Second, it was built as a tightly closed, single-season narrative arc. And third, every single theme and plot point resolves without you having to endure those painful waiting gaps. So, the crucial point here is that this low-entropy model creates a perfectly closed loop. It is the exact mathematical reason why you find yourself sitting on your couch at 1 in the morning saying, okay, just one more episode. High gravity, low entropy. It's brilliant.
Section 5. The memory evolution layer. So now that we've seen how gravity is generated in the moment while you're watching, we need to understand how it persists long-term. This top layer of Bulut's architecture is called narrative memory evolution, or NME. This layer specifically addresses how a story behaves in your memory after you finish watching it. Think about it. Most standard blockbuster adventures are consumed, enjoyed, and then almost immediately forgotten. But stories that successfully trigger this NME layer, they do something very different. They bond deeply with you over time. Instead of fading away, they actually grow stronger in your mind. So why does the Boroughs trigger this memory evolution? Well, it's because you aren't just passively watching an aging hero's plot. When you watch these characters grapple with the end of their lives and the legacies they're leaving behind, you are personally reflecting on your own finite time. You're essentially rehearsing your own mortality. And because of this, your brain doesn't just file the story under entertainment, it files it under personal. And as Bulut so perfectly notes, the personal is never forgotten. The story actually gains new meaning as you yourself age.
Finally, Section 6. The true source of gravity.
I want you to listen to this incredible synthesis from Bulut. He says, truth has an objective projection. We are merely the narrative engineers who trace it. That completely ties this dense academic theory right back to the emotional core of the show. The Boroughs didn't just stumble into success by accident. The creators literally engineered a vessel to trace a deeply objective human truth. The industry always assumed that youth captures audiences, but this doctrine structurally refutes that. Gravity isn't born from youth. Gravity is born from mass, and mass is exactly what the years accumulate.
So as we wrap up this explainer, the next time you sit down to binge a new show, I want you to ask yourself something. When you consume a story, what legacies are you actually projecting into your own memory? Are you just passing the time with high-entropy entertainment, or are you engaging with a narrative massive enough to bend your reality? Thank you so much for joining me today, and definitely keep questioning the stories you consume.